We're on, brother.
How you going, guys? I'm doing a special behind the scenes today with 18-time Australian dirt track and long track champion Paul Caslick. How you going, Cazzo?
Good, Leon. Good.
I've wanted to talk to you for a while about the situation with the flat track going on at the moment. They've made some rules where they've got 19-inch wheels coming back in and stuff like that. Mate, that's not something that's new to the sport. In the early 80s and the 90s, we had 19-inch back wheels even on 125s.
That's all.
Like, it's nothing new. What's your thoughts on the flat track scene at the moment?
Well, I suppose I haven't been given a great deal of thought into it until I went to the last round of the AFTN last year at Gunnedah, and I only went to shake some hands of friends and catch up with the motorbike family, which is something that I've missed for quite some years. And when I got there, the whole presentation of it and that Troy Bayliss feel. But to get to the question, Leon, the 19-inch wheels, I think, gives us, it's a formulated system. Everyone uses the same wheels. We got the same setup at every single track we ride on, whether it be shale, deco, clay, oil. We all use the same tyres. You can choose. But
I'm a big fan of it, to be honest.
But at the end of the day, they're 19-inch wheels, and that's what we grew up on.
That's
we
exactly
grew up
right.
on 19-inch wheels. And look, I'll go back to 1987, Peter Goddard, when the Carlisle tyres finished then, and Goodyear actually took them over, or Goodyear then started making the 19s, but they weren't available in the late 80s, and Peter Goddard then went to the Michelin full wet weather road racing slicks, 18. So then everyone had to go to 18s.
Yeah, that's when
and
it
then
all
the natural
changed,
progression from that went 18s to 17s, and then 17s. So, you know, we've gone full circle now. We're back to the 19s.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You know, with that series now, like I said, it simplifies a lot of things. It's now got its own section in the Manual of Motorsport now under the Australian flat track rules. And it's pretty simple, really, and it's a no-brainer. The riders on motocross bikes now, they've got those opportunities now to be able to venture into the World Flat Track Championship, which is only in its infancy, you know, admittedly so, and then also the AMA Flat Track, and you know, we got Mick Kirkness opened up the door, and Luke Goff spent a couple of years over there.
Absolutely.
And then Jared Brook went over, and he got, you know, one of the other top amateur awards over there while he was there also. But now, looking into the professional side of things, you've got Max Whale with his commitment and effort that he's put in, and now young Draney, Tom and Sam.
Yeah.
And plus we've also got many young
Daniel
riders.
Wicks has gone over and had a bit of a go.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, there's plenty of riders that gone over. Look, I went over in 07 and had a crack, but we won't go down that path. But look, at the end of the day, to see how they do things now, and like you said, the 19 inches, it's nothing new.
Yeah, no. The sport changed a little bit. It went from old conventional motocross type bike to the new type bike. I couldn't adapt to them at all. It's like the bikes were like the old motocross bikes were like a terrain type motocross setup to something that you would buy. It's a supercross bike now, straight out of the factory. You know what I mean? Because you've gone from that transition from the old style to the new style. Did you adapt very well to that? Because you seem to. You've come out and won a king in the pen.
I didn't know. Like I finished in 1987.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And 87, 88. And then, you know, I had a brain fart. And, you know,
as we all do.
Busted up with a girlfriend, and she blamed the motorbike, so I blamed the motorbikes and give it all away. But, you know, and look, at the end of the day, when I came back into the sport, I went from 1996 with what happened at Watto up at Kempsey, and I never went anywhere near a motorbike until 2004. And I got on this 454 stroke, and everyone was raving about these 454 strokes, and I mean, I remember 454 strokes, mate. 600 4-strokes back in the day made a 252 stroke was just as fast as really at Nepean. So when I first got on the 450, that was the 04 model, and I thought, special kind of bike, you know what I mean?
Are.
And but
the
then
motor, but the setups were a little bit hard to get used to, the guys.
Yeah,
Don't
it
you
was.
reckon?
And mate, look, I'll be totally honest. We rode on 19-inch speedway tyres as
Yeah.
well in the 80s, and then to jump on we first thing you did is put an 18-inch back wheel in it with a trials tyre, and
Yeah.
mate, I hated trials tyres because it's
No.
like you're riding around on a half flat
No
tyre,
good.
and they just
Yeah.
it didn't feel right to me, but I had to adapt.
Yeah, right.
So it was good because, look, 2004, I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't been near the sport for 8 years. And I think I won the Australian long track title that year.
Yeah, wow.
So,
straight off the bat.
I got pretty lucky.
Yeah, so we from riding against sliders and stuff like that. Tell us a bit about that, like, because back in the day there was nothing like the, two strokes against sliders, mate. I remember Kevin Horton talking to me out at the PM when I was a young bloke, and he'd say, Chris Watson would be on your hammer, and all you could do was hear him, but you couldn't see where he's coming. You wouldn't know where he's coming from the inside or the outside.
Yep.
You've got plenty of photos of you and Wade going hammer and tong. Tell us a bit about your story with it.
Oh, mate, look, at the end of the day, I tried to do the slider progression
Yeah.
from the motocross bikes to the sliders, and when they were two strokes with the gear shift on this side and the brake, I had no dramas, but you flip that around and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, so I
Especially
couldn't
going down the
I
road.
couldn't adapt.
Yeah,
I couldn't
right.
adapt, but also I was sponsored by Yamaha Australia at the time, so I was sacrificing or giving away a hell of a
right.
lot. But to race against the sliders back in those days, mate, we grew up with them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's right.
We grew up with the sliders, so it was part and parcel. So you gave them the room that you knew you had to keep everyone safe. Like, you couldn't just go out there and ride like a madman because, one, you get your head punched off when you come into the pits, or
Especially
you dish
if you-
out a flogging,
Especially
depending.
if you
But
stop dead in front of them.
yeah, but at the end of the day, like,
Yeah.
I think we made the racing as good as what it was.
It
and
was.
Some of the
It was
races
terrific.
that I had with, not just Watto, but like Boise and,
That's right,
and
yeah.
Stephen Davies, Michael Stormont, Lenny Norris, like some of the races.
Raymond
that-
Dole, just to throw in a few
Mate,
more names.
Exactly, like the list goes on and on and on. But you're right. If you got the gate and you were in front, you could hear.
Yeah.
You could hear that they were throwing everything at you. So you knew when you got on the brakes, you couldn't be on the brakes for that long because you had to get back on
Yeah.
the gas.
So they made it quicker riders in a way, didn't they? If you had a slider on your backside.
Well, when we talk about it, Leon, and I say now, look, I'm 57 now, and I give credit to the fact that I grew up racing with all the junior riders in Queensland that I raced with, and what I was included in that list. But I still give credit to the riders that I grew up with in the 80s on the dirt track, because when you knew you had to race, and as I said, look, at the end of the day, I was pretty determined to ride a motocross bike. Like,
Yeah.
I rode a slider, and I remember the Star Classic at Barley Ranch, and it would have been 1987, I think it was, and I remember going off the end of the main straight there with Todd Wilshire. I remember going in there on a 500 two-stroke out of gate 2, and I dropped it in there with no brakes at all, never used brakes at all,
Yeah.
and just dropped it up the inside of the sliders with
Yeah.
slicks on. And mate, when you look at some of the old memories there, like they were incredible days racing.
They must have
against
some scary stories about you and a few others like Kevin Horton as well, and Peter Goddard. You know, like they were always up their backsides as well. You know what I mean, and always giving them
Oh,
bit of grief. You know.
Mate, I remember, I was only talking about this the other day. I remember even going into the scrutineering line up down to Nepean, and I might have only just been either early in seniors or even in juniors, and I remember pushing into the scrutineering line up in front of Kevin and Peter Goddard just to let them know it's only 12 months to go, boys, and I'm going to be giving it to you. So look,
And you did.
but I was a competitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly
look,
right.
and that's, too many people want to judge you as a competitor. They don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you're in our house, mate. You're in our home now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, the person that you are away from the track with no helmet on is completely different to the competitor. And, you know, I think those riders these days, mate, are probably lucky that I'm not the competitor that I was when I was 18 and 19.
Yeah,
You know?
there would be nothing worse than Paul Casley coming up behind you, mate. I can tell you. I remember a few 6 hour races. Tell us about the 6 hour race. you did it with Glenn Bell, won a 6 hour.
Yeah.
Did
19
you win it with anyone else, like Goddard or someone like that?
No, we won the 250 class. It was
Right.
Chris Watson, Dean Rowe, and myself
Oh, that's a
on a
good-
250 Honda.
Yeah.
We finished fourth outright. We won the 250
Just
class.
a few Newcastle lads.
Yeah. And then 1985, me and Glenn Bell. I think it really come down to the wire at that time. But yeah, we were pretty unlucky not to win it that year as
Oh, yeah.
well. In
Okay.
85,
Yeah,
but
right.
then we came back in 86.
Right, okay.
We came back in 86 and then we won it in 86. But then 1987, I think Glenn had some other commitments at another event, maybe
Yeah.
with motocross somewhere. And then because he wasn't I wasn't doing it with anyone else.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It was awesome. We had a really good team.
Yeah.
So
It was a Triple M team, wasn't it?
Marlborough, it was the Marlborough
Oh,
team.
Marlborough team, was it?
Full
Sorry.
Marlborough team
Yeah.
in 86. In 85, it was the Toshiba Yamaha dealer team, but we rode on my bike.
Yeah.
But they were good days. Like
Yeah, they were
I
great days.
remember those days,
Loved
mate.
it.
Like I'd come
Loved
into
it.
corners, mate, screaming and whistling and yelling out, and they were good days because if riders didn't get out of your way, well, you rode,
That's right.
You would shoulder them out of the way.
There's a few riders come back and told me stories about in the 6 hour race. If you were behind them and you needed to get through, you'd be whistling at them to get out of the way. Hey,
I whistled to them once. I had a rule, and I whistled to them once, and if they didn't move
Yeah.
and they were still in the way on the
I know
next
for
corner,
a fact that because my brother Jeff was behind you in one of those 6 hour races and he got the whistle.
yeah. And that was how I was. I thought I'll give you the whistle on one
Yeah.
corner, and you've got one corner next to get out of my way, and if you're not, I'll
Yeah,
move you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just racing, and
That's right, yeah.
that's how we are. But yeah, good days, fantastic memories,
Yeah.
and mate, look, you look at where we are now, and what we've got ahead of us is much shorter than what we've got behind us, and
That's
mate,
right.
I remember
yeah.
you. I still remember you at Nepean, mate, and I still say to this day, no one could slide a BMX push bike like you could, mate, and sideways, foot up the whole lot, and I'm going, that is mad. And at that time, we were all into our
Yeah,
BMX push
yeah.
bikes. But mate, some of the memories and the friends
Yeah,
that
they're
we've
great
had,
days.
like incredible days. Mate.
Just before we wrap it up, right, the tracks these days aren't like what we used to from the old days. They're very, because they've had to go away from the oil-based tracks, some of them, for certain rules for different areas. And a lot of them are thick in dirt, like Nepean is, and I noticed Cowra yesterday is very thick in dirt. Very different style of riding, different style of maintaining your bike and setting up your bike,
Yeah, it is, I suppose.
because it's very deep,
Yeah,
very deep,
it's
very
deep.
ruddy.
I know.
It's like
Mate, look-
riding on a sand quarry.
Yeah, look, that's where you throw your trials tyre
Yeah.
on, or throw a trials tyre on and take 2 spare back oils, and you'll use them all in one day.
Yeah, that's
Particularly
right.
if you're going to have a crack, you'll go through 2 or 3
So
in a
there's
day.
$900 for the wheels,
Well, you've got
tyres.
1,500
Yeah.
$1,500 worth of wheels, and you've got
Yeah.
$900 in tyres.
Well, there you go.
They're alone.
Yeah.
So the techniques are the same. The
Yeah,
techniques are
right.
exactly the same. Like you pitch the thing in,
Yeah.
pick up the dirt, crack
Yeah.
that throttle, and just around
Yeah.
you go. But at the same time, look, your bike gets peppered to the shit house and all
Yeah,
that
that's
kind
right,
of stuff. And that's why now, Leon, I've committed to the 19s.
Yeah,
That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. The
like I
bike
said,
can-
I'm a big fan of the 19s. I think they're a better setup.
Oh, mate, the bike can stay standard for the first
Yeah.
4 rounds.
Yeah,
And we've got all the engine bits we need to then put it in for Gunnedah, but for the first 4 rounds you don't need horsepower.
no.
You don't, and that's where it is cheaper. Because look, admittedly, so if
It has to stay cheap because it seems like I heard a mate of mine, not Winton, he was just discussing to me, he's bought his kid $3,000 worth of suspension, right? But this is probably the second or third time this year that he's had to do that sort of thing, like it's a lot of money they're thrown into, like compared to the days where we set up our bikes in that, back in our day and you race with what you had. These guys have got 2 bikes ready to roll, and they're spending like astronomical amount of money. It's like gone from a privateer to a professional type.
well, that's the
thing.
budgets you're up against, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know. Look, there's plenty out there with pretty big budgets to be able to go and do, and plenty of support to do what they're doing, and that's why I mean we're just sticking with what we've got. I'm pretty lucky, mate, with the people that's backed us.
But let's face it, that hasn't changed much. Back in the days, you got a bike and you sent it to either Gary Treadwell or you sent it to Frank Pines, and that didn't cost nothing either. You know what I mean? So it's not really changed that way, I suppose. But
it all scales up, mate.
Yeah.
Look.
The
You get some
suspension's
people,
worth
mate. You get some
$3,000
people.
bucks.
Oh, exactly. But you get some people, mate. Some people in the pits are on 140 grand a year.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And so are their wives.
yeah,
So there's 280.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
enough.
So it all scales up.
Yeah.
You know, you go to some of the meetings and you got trailers with solar panels
Yeah.
on them, and they've got all
Yeah.
the bling just in the trailers. Then they pull out the little automatic 50 KDMs.
Yeah.
You know, so
You turn up in a HR and a trailer.
I know. Well, we went to a car show yesterday actually, and I said to Dee,
Yeah.
throw the 450 in. And it was an old HG Ute. And
Yeah.
she looked at us, she's gone, oh, I don't think so, darling. I thought, that would be mad. That
Yeah.
would be mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look, it all does scale up, but most certainly for the financial side of it, you know, and I know we talked about this a little bit on the phone. We've gone to the 19-inch, you know, try to curb a little bit of cost, the fact that you don't need to do all this engine work, but then you get tyres out there that, you know, the wholesalers or the retailers want to charge us $350
Yeah.
for a rear tyre. Like, at the end of the day, when we've got a market there where some tyres you can get for $190 to $200, and some tyres you get $350.
Yeah,
So when you weigh it up, you think, well, hang on a minute, are we doing this for cost, or why are we doing this? So, you know, I just hope that the series that we've got now, particularly with what Dave Maddock's done with his vision and the way that he's trying to grow the series, I hope that continues, particularly with his commitment to the sport to try and make this work. And in the end, it really does turn into a promoter's dream. It turns into something for the riders, and then from that, then we've got something that can grow.
because we do have the market. Look at the world champions we're producing these days. You know what I mean? Not just in speedway, but in road racing and any other.
It's everywhere, mate. You know, I look at the riders now, even in the Speedway GP stuff and what they're doing, and it's not just because of that, but every one of those riders in the Speedway GP series, like, they've all come from dirt track. Most of them come from dirt track. A lot of them actually went to the exactly, or a lot of them went to the Institute of Sport elite rider camps that we used to have. They learnt the professional side of the diet, rest recovery, and the public relations side of things.
Were you a part of setting that up when it first started?
Yeah, I was one of the I suppose the administrators of the dirt track, speedway and road race group. So up until I went down the Institute of Sport, mate, I don't think they did anything after breakfast at 9 o'clock. When we went down there, I said, you're out of bed at 4:30. You're lining up at 5. We got 3 hours worth of training before breakfast. So,
absolutely.
But it's just how it is, and that's where you make the most of your time. So, you know, at the end of the day, mate, you know, it's all about commitment. It doesn't matter what discipline it is. It's all about the commitment. And you look at the commitment now, and the riders that have got the commitment are getting the results.
So you're looking forward to this series coming up? Yeah,
I am. I don't try to get. Years ago, Leon, I was ready. I was ready every single day, 24/7, 6 months before the meeting. But the time you get to the meeting... So
you've already read the meeting before you got there?
Yeah, you have. And one thing I have learnt now, and it's only taken me 57 years to mature, but now it's... I know when I need to peak and when I need to be ready, and that's not now.
And
I know I'm ready.
Possibly because you've got a lovely wife behind you that controls the situation, maybe.
She lets me know too, and that's helped me as well, because, you know, the way I structure my training, the foods that we eat, and, you know, I've got a fantastic full-time job as well. So it's a balance, and I've found that balance, and that's one thing that I've really found in preparation for this series is just the balance. So I'm looking forward to the series. I'm not fired
Yeah.
up for it, not yet.
No,
Get-
you just want to go out there and ride your bike and have fun.
Yeah, I've already put in for my annual leave, and I've already got all my days structured now. And I dare say Friday morning, the 26th of July, I'll be biting nails.
Scared
Ready
to
to
ask,
go.
is it the last we're going to see of Paul Castley?
Probably not.
Good,
Probably not.
good.
No.
There's a lot of people out there that would love to hear that because we love it. I love seeing you. If I see your name on the program and I turn up at an event, I go, unreal.
Yeah,
Here we
no,
go.
yeah,
I'm glued to the fence.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. In 21, we bought a rocket, and I probably set out to prove a point to myself with that,
Yeah,
but I let someone else buy. Like they bought this bike,
Yeah.
got the bike set up, $18,000
Right, yeah.
worth, 18 grand. I bought it for 7,500
Right,
a
okay.
week before the New South Wales dirt track title. Worked on it
that you
in,
won.
at
That
Gunnedah.
you won
So we picked it up.
from behind, I may say.
Well, 3 o'clock in the morning, I left here to go to Yass, pick the bike up, drove home, changed all the
Yes.
wheels and
Wow.
everything. It was minus 30,000
Yeah.
degrees,
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to start a methanol bike in the petrol station. As soon as he fired her up, I put my hands behind it on the flames. I said,
Yeah.
she's good, let's
Yeah.
put her in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
So I worked on it here till 10 o'clock that night, and I said to Dee, there's a club day at Gunnedah tomorrow, let's go. So we got up at 3 o'clock that next morning, went to Gunnedah the next day. I had 4 or 5 rides on it, and went out the last one, and I said, we're on the pace, let's go.
Yeah.
So we left, went to the pub and had a counter lunch, drove home, went back the next weekend and won the state title on it.
Beautiful.
And then,
That's what I love to see.
but because I wasn't passionate about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I proved a point to myself. I rode the TT Masters at Curry on something that was just way over horsepowered for that event, but I ended up selling it. Rodney D'Agostino bought that bike.
Yeah.
But this bike now, I've really enjoyed the journey with this bike now. I've really enjoyed building the bike to exactly how I want it and becoming one with the bike.
Have you always been like that with your bikes, Bud, or is it this one?
I have always wanted to set the bikes up, personalise them the way, like the levers, like it's got to be
The whole box and dice.
the bike's got to
Yes.
be very personalised to how I want it. But this one's a different journey.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So how I've progressed and processed everything along the way, it's followed a very regimented path.
Yeah, right.
And I've been sharing a little bit of the journey,
Yeah.
not all of it.
Yeah, you don't tell
Not
everyone.
not
everything.
all of it, but
Yeah.
when the series is over, then I will share
Yeah.
how, depending on how we go. But then I will share with
Well,
what
maybe
I
I
did
can
in the
come up
way
and do
that I've
this
done it
again.
because I've documented, written everything down.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm really loving this. I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I love the fact that I've got a bike there that I can go and ride.
Yeah.
It's got the same tyre on it that when I bought the bike
Yeah.
in December, and I'm going to a practice day at Appin next weekend with the same tyre on
Yeah.
it again, and I can stop at a petrol station, buy some premium, throw
Yeah,
it out,
that's
and
right,
go and
yeah.
ride my motorbike.
So it's not a nitro.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. Not yet.
Just a joke.
No, it's not. It's not, mate. I will not. It won't run on ETS. It won't
Yeah.
run on RU. It won't run on methanol. This thing is running on 98.
Yeah. Righto.
That's it.
If that's what requires, it's $2.10 a litre at the moment, so why not?
Yeah, that's. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Instead of buying a 20-gallon drum, 20-litre drum of methanol.
Well, some of
Wow.
the fuels are 200.
Yeah,
200,
that's right.
$200 for 20 litres of fuel.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
You know what I mean? That's more than me mower.
Yeah. When I started singers in 87, 16 on my dad's Hagen Jap, I went and bought my first drum of Chalet, and that was $46 then. So,
Yeah. Oh, mate, I know. I used to go and buy every single weekend. We go and buy 2 drums of Chalet.
yeah.
2 drums of Chalet
Yeah.
from the depot with there at Maitland, and off we go. But
What was that for you or your dad's sidecar?
no, that was me with the Yamahas because they were all
Yeah.
on Chalet.
Yeah.
Every one of them
Oh,
were on the
right, yeah.
methanol.
Yeah.
They were rockets. You remember
Yeah.
those things, mate? Gee, they weren't slugs. And Yamahas, they really went well. But look, I'm really enjoying this journey, and it's not, they say it's not about the destination. If the journey's in place and you've got good processes in place, like at the end of the day, we'll see how we go. Yeah, but I'm not riding over 35s.
No. Maybe I will be, but you not. No.
No.
I will make one more mention. Bobby Casley,
Yeah,
1966 Australian Speedway champion. Yeah.
No, he never. And look, mate, Dad would have been probably one of the most unlucky riders not to win an Australian
Well, I was under the
championship.
assumption that he did win an Australian title, but I stand corrected.
Yeah, no, he won the 75 New South Wales Speedway sidecar
That's
title
good
at the
enough.
Royal, which
At the
and
Royal,
in its day was the one
Yeah.
to win. But
Absolutely.
mate, he led Australian championships and then had fuel lines fall off.
Yeah, right.
He was leading Australian
Yeah.
championships and broke throttle cables
Yeah,
and
okay.
finished the race pulling the
He
cable
would
out the
have.
top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was
He was
the
the
most
old style.
unluckiest rider not to win, and I've got a lot of his history, Dad's. But that's why when I went out and I won an Australian championship, and he know what I put into it myself too.
Yeah.
And you come in and be in tears, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he knew what it meant.
Yeah.
He knew what it meant to him, but he also knew, you know, we went to the races when it was only me and Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Right.
never had someone hanging on to me gobbles
No,
and
no,
someone
no.
handing me
That's
gloves
right.
and all that
Yeah.
shit. Like, it was like, go and give it to him, Herb.
Yeah.
Go and give it to him.
Yeah.
Stick it up him. Keep
Yeah.
it on the main jet. And it was just me and Dad. And we drove to the meeting, just me and him. And then we reflected on the way home. Sometimes we didn't talk too much on the way home.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But other times it was,
Yeah.
it was, they're good times.
Yeah.
Real good times.
You
But
would have spent a lot of Saturday nights at the Sydney Showground back in the day when it was
every Saturday night. Every Saturday night.
We used to go down there every Saturday night because my dad raced Speedway before he rode dirt track,
Yeah.
so his origin was from Speedway.
Yeah, every Saturday
Yeah.
night, mate. Every Saturday night we were at the Sydney Showground, and it was a special place, special memories, very fond times. Dad probably would have continued to go, but he broke his leg twice in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. And
And-
plus, you were coming up to ride into junior yourself by that about
About
78,
then, yeah, I was-
80.
yeah, 77,
90,
78, I just started. Well, I've been racing since 76, and then 77, 78 was sponsored
Yeah.
by Cornell Suzuki. We'll get
Yeah,
North
righto.
Running Supply.
Yeah,
And,
which you
know,
needed it, especially going to Queensland a lot,
oh, mate, we did
or
over 30,
all over this state either.
I remember we did over 30 trips in 1 year
Yeah,
to
that's
Queensland.
mad.
That's
That's
how many
unbelievable.
times we went to Queensland.
Yeah.
If there was a meet night in Queensland, that's what Dad said. We're governed by the Speedway Act here in New South Wales. Like you couldn't even race.
Yeah.
Said if there's
Well,
racing,
I couldn't race dirt track till I was 14 because coming from Sydney,
Yep.
we didn't have tracks down there that allowed us to. If you wanted to race, you had to go to Canberra.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so I couldn't. I didn't race until I was 14.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we were lucky here, mate. We had Cessnock Mini Bike Club.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go out there, like Dave Cocking, Boodle Bailey, Lloyd Hill,
Yeah.
Warwick Hill, like Phil Lovett. Like, there were so many riders that went to Cessnock Mini Bike Club,
Yeah.
and we had that every weekend. And then when we went to Queensland, it's like, where the hell are these guys coming
Yeah.
from?
Right. Yeah.
Because it was intense, you know.
Yeah. Right.
Watto was on another level, mate.
Yeah.
Out there, I remember YZ80B, I think he was, but he was always younger. He's older than me, but younger than the other riders. And, mate, watching and learning from what they did and then racing with them later on,
Yeah.
you know, you knew you just had to be at another level.
Yeah.
So, we're very lucky.
I
Very
remember
lucky.
just before your era, there was Ray Dole's era, and then Watto's era, but there was a bloke by the name of Don Pollard.
Yep,
Not Pollard, Donnie Millard, sorry.
Donnie Millard.
Donnie Millard, he was the man to beat back in those days, and then you guys come through, and that was history. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, look, hey, at the end of the day, I wanted to be World Speedway champion.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to
Really?
be. All I wanted to be.
You want to ride sliders?
All I wanted to be
That's
was
a
World
big shot.
Speedway. All I wanted to be was World Speedway champion. We were going to go and buy a Speedway bike, and someone involved in Speedway at the time said, "No, don't buy that. It's a heap of shit." Only then Dad said, "No, you're not buying that. That's a heap of shit." And then they turned around and bought it.
Yeah.
And
well,
I
there
said to Dad, "You know
there you
what?
go.
If that's what I'm going to be dealing with,
Yeah.
stick it in their ass. I want nothing to
Yeah.
do with it." So
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I said, "Look, I'll make my motocross bike do what you can do on a slider." So I was pretty
And you did.
determined to do it. So
And just before we wrap it up, I will say this, and I've said this a couple of times, I will wrap it up, but when I started juniors, I'd watched you for a couple of years, and I'm not pissing in your pocket here, but I used to model my riding style off you.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's awesome.
And
but you know, Leon,
at club day level, I was all right.
but we all, yeah, but you know what, mate? We all had someone that we looked
Yeah.
up to. You know what I mean?
You were mine, and
Yeah.
Ray Dole.
Oh, Ray Dole was awesome.
Yeah.
I remember watching Peter Carr, mate. I
Yeah.
remember coming down the main straight at Nepean on my YZ490
Yeah.
and tipping it into pit turn with no brakes.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
brakes.
yeah.
Slick tyres front and back. 19 front,
Yeah, yeah.
18 rear, and just dropping her in on the foot pegs. And then
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. I used to see you dip it in there. I used to love it. There's a special spot on that speedway corner in the spectator area. I used to stand and watch you guys just come in because I knew where to stand, and it was like you were coming for me.
Oh, yeah.
And tipping in
Good
and off
spot.
his wind, especially Kazay. I mean, what they coming in and just turning on, and his back wheels just bowing like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I look back at those times, and look, I had Gawley as a hero, and
Yeah.
you know, we all had our heroes at that time. But I think when it come to dirt track, and I don't mean this in an arrogant or an ignorant way, but I wanted to be the benchmark.
Yeah.
I did. On a motocross bike, I thought I'm going to I wanted to set a standard that was going to be so hard for anyone to try and get
Yeah.
to. And
Well, I
just
think you've
with
done that,
single-handedly-
especially in the way with what you did. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short. Sorry about that, Paul.
No, it's all good.
But what you did in the earlier days, and then you took time off, and you're coming back and winning titles in your 50s.
Yeah, still going.
Like you're still setting the benchmark. Like
Still going.
you can, you're never too old.
No, you're never too old, mate.
But
You
you
know-
always maintain your fitness, and I know that for a fact. I remember when we were kids, we'd be having cans of Coke and eating chips, and you'd be eating bananas and drinking water in the pits. I remember that.
They were the 80s.
One thing I didn't remember about you.
Yeah, they were the 80s. And
Yeah.
that's like you've been in the dungeon, mate. Not too
Yeah.
many people step in the dungeon.
No, I'm very honoured.
But you do the work.
Yeah,
Your bar's only set by what you're
Yeah.
able to do physically. And that's why, mate, you do the hard work. And
yeah,
and I know for this series, mate, I've worked my guts out.
Yeah.
And I've still got 2 months to go. But I've worked my guts out for this one. So I'm hoping that my results reflect the effort that I've put in.
yeah,
Yeah. So, I've always taken a lot of pride in being physically prepared.
Yeah.
And that I did get from Stephen Gore.
yeah, right.
He set the benchmark
Yeah.
for all of us there. Yeah. Yeah.
Mate, thanks for taking time, mate. I really appreciate it. It's
Oh,
been an
no,
absolute
no,
pleasure and
thank you,
something I've
Leon.
wanted to do for a few years.
We have wanted to catch up. And you couldn't have got 60 seconds with Vando in on this one.
No, not this one. I think this is like 25, 32
Yeah.
minutes. There
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
awesome. No, that's
I've
awesome.
never spoken that long in my life.
No, it's all right. But you know what? We could go and, mate, if I had an outdoor heater, we could probably get
We
that
could have
cranked
gone
up
all
and
night.
and we could keep
A
going.
fire pit.
So,
Yeah,
and I will say, one thing that, hopefully we're going to get a lot of views on this, but I'm hoping the biggest thing that everyone gets out of this is our journey and where we are. Now, I remember going to Nepean when I was 14, and I remember him at Nepean when I was 14, and he was on a BMX push bike. And the journey that we've had and the amount of friends that we've made over the years that we've had, we're blessed.
absolutely.
Absolutely
we
blessed.
absolutely are blessed.
And the story that we can share with everyone and the journey that it's been, it's at the end of the day now the results aren't important. And if anyone tries to convince you of that bullshit, because the only reason you do it is to get the results, and this has been a fantastic opportunity. So
yeah,
mate,
thanks
look,
very much. I really
thank you.
take time
Thanks,
out.
Leon.
Thank you.
Awesome, mate.